So I'm here today with beautiful Maggie Murray in Flagstaff, Arizona. Maggie is a Mayo-fascial therapist and dance teacher. So
Yes.
Maggie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, so Maggie, when did you start dancing? Where did your dance journey begin?
I started probably like 3, 4, just with like the pre-ballet, that, and then like gymnastics, I would say is where I started.
Okay.
Pretty young.
Cool. And what styles of dance did you start with, like ballet, and then how did that progress from there?
I would say I first was in gymnastics, and then probably took like a little Tiny Tots ballet class, and then I actually went over to a modern studio. So I was dancing in bare feet, and it was very like contemporary, interpretive, just kind of like little kid fun. And then probably by like age 6 or 7, I was at the preparatory, the ballet studio.
Okay, yeah, so you've just
Back
been
when it was a preparatory.
Yeah. So you've just been a natural dancer and mover all your life.
Yes, definitely.
Nice. So when did that transition for you from just like a fun little kid thing to do into something you really like loved, and how did dance touch you and make you want to do it more seriously?
I was pretty dedicated at a young age. I was definitely like the type of kid to just go all in right away. So I was like 8 years old, like showing up early to class with perfect bun and just really on top of things. So I think naturally I just kind of always had that personality that
You're just gonna go hard.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
And I ended up really loving it. I would say like 10, 11 is when I was like, okay, like I love this.
Nice. And so from 10, 11, and then all through high school you danced with Royal Academy of Dance, preparatory school, doing really classical ballet, some jazz, some modern as well.
I also was like on the public high school's dance team, so it was like dance line, drill team, that kind of thing.
Just getting as much dance as
as much as I could. Yep.
Good life.
Yes, definitely.
So then from there, what happened after high school? Did you continue on?
My junior and senior year of high school, I went to school online so I could focus on dancing and the famous audition that you have at the end of your senior year if you choose that's what you want to do. So I spent all my senior year filming, traveling, auditioning different places, Utah, Colorado, Washington. Towards the end of my senior year, I think I just kind of got really like hard on myself, and I ended up going to a smaller school, which I loved, but the dance program wasn't my first choice. So I kind of like chose the school that I wanted to go to. But
what school was that?
It was Western Washington, which
Bellingham.
Recommend to anyone. But it was a modern program. And
after coming from such a strong classical ballet background.
I was just like, I love classical ballet. Like, it's just beautiful. So I knew that was going to be an adjustment.
Yeah, so what was that adjustment like? Walking through, what was your experience at Western Washington?
I think the first year of college is just hard for anyone. You don't know anybody. And I was in the highest level of ballet, so I kind of realized quickly, I don't have anywhere to go with ballet.
Yeah,
I'm already at the top here, and all the performances were modern. So it was just an adjustment, and it took me a while to just kind of be like, well, maybe this isn't quite the style of performance I like. I had a great first quarter. It was an amazing performance with awesome dancers, but after that I was just kind of like, maybe this isn't it.
So then you went through a pretty serious injury pretty soon off the bat. Can you describe what happened?
I think when I got back from Christmas break, I think I kind of hit this really low point in life. I wasn't really happy away from home. I struggled, and I didn't think that I would. And I kind of didn't have that home of dance. Like, I wasn't comfortable in the studio, where that was always, like, where I went and to feel better. So I hit this really low point that lasted about a month, and then right on cue, my right hip, it gradually started just, like, a little achy at night, and then a couple more weeks, 6 more weeks, I was limping.
You were
not
limping.
Dancing
so
at all.
This was after starting your, like, second semester, your freshman year.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So aching and then limping, and then what happened?
So
did you go see someone?
I had a really awesome ballet teacher, and she was total physiotherapist, just like so body oriented. So she was really helpful. Kind of worked with a Pilates instructor to kind of build some strength. Nothing was working. Massage, acupuncture. So I got X-rays done.
So you were still feeling this ache. Would it be achy while you were dancing?
Yeah, at this point I wasn't dancing at all. I couldn't.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I was, I had to pass my college class. So I was sitting
while you can't
in
dance.
my classes, writing essays, doing makeups as I could.
That must have been really hard not being able to dance.
It was,
your body all of a sudden just gives out on you.
It was really devastating. I think like I said, that low point was real. I stopped, freshman year you kind of have to make friends. I stopped trying because I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
In pain. So I ended up getting X-rays done in Bellingham, just to check, and those were clean. So I just kind of toughed out my last 2 quarters. I found yoga, so I started going to yoga twice a week. That felt good. It was one of the few things I could do. And then I moved back to Flagstaff for the summer.
Okay. So how did you end up moving past this hip injury? Like, what did it end up being?
So I spent the summer, I quit dance. I was like, I'm just going to rest.
I'm in pain. I can't. This isn't enjoyable. And you were already feeling a little on the fence about whether or not.
Totally. So I just spent the summer as like a normal human. Got a job.
You're like, what is this life?
And then the hip was definitely still a problem. There wasn't a day where it didn't hurt. And towards the end, I think it was August, I was hiking and slipped on cinders going downhill. And right then I felt it like go. And the whole hike down, I could barely walk, and I was just like crying, and was like just hobbling down the Humphreys Peak.
Oh my gosh, just up on a mountain. I can't walk. Oh no.
So got down, went in 2 days later, got an MRI, and 3 weeks later I was in surgery.
You were in surgery.
Yep.
So what was the injury? What happened exactly?
My labrum. Which is the area or the tissue that covers your ball and socket, was torn and like had a big flap in it.
Oh my gosh.
It's really common to tear that in your shoulder.
Oh wow, but in your hip. And do you think it was definitely a dance-caused injury?
I think, I never had a specific moment of injury, but
just years of bad habit.
I would call it like a repetitive stress.
Gotcha.
And then they also found that my bone was kind of long, so they shaved down a bunch of bone, and then they worked in my psoas muscle, which is a really important muscle in your body.
Yeah. Shout out to the psoas.
Yeah.
The most underrated muscle.
It really
dance.
is. So that was such a brutal operation.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what the physical recovery and healing of that must have been like, but also like the emotional and mental stress of that.
It was horrible. I mean, finding it out, it was like kind of a relief because you're like, okay, something's wrong with me. Thank God.
We know what to do.
At the same time, you're like, wow, I'm going in for a really big surgery. Took me about 8 weeks to walk again, maybe a little bit longer.
Wow.
And it was just a really rough recovery.
And at that point, you pretty much knew you weren't going to be able to dance anymore.
I definitely thought that was, never again.
Wow. It must have been really hard.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. Girl, I can feel you on so many levels. Can definitely relate.
Yeah.
So what, sort of practices have been super helpful on your road to recovery, because you're dancing again, you're a dance teacher now, like you're moving, you rock climb, you do all these things. So like what really helped you get back into like a harmonious relationship with your body?
I think one of the big things I did is I let myself be sad. I didn't try to fake it for people, and I just kind of owned it. Like, this is horrible. Like, I'm so sad. I cried all the time because I just felt like it was really important to like give myself that moment. And so many athletes deal with injuries, and it's like life altering.
It's life altering, but then at the same time you're sort of expected to just like
be fine,
suck it up. Like this is expected, you know. If you're a dancer, you're gonna get injured, you're gonna be in pain. When it's like it's so much deeper than just like a hobby. Like it's your body, your heart and soul.
I was working with a lot of people: yoga teachers, meditation leaders, Reiki therapists. And someone told me, you have to treat losing dance as like a death. Like, you have to treat it as like a complete loss. You know, even if it's not permanent, it just like validates it. So that was really big.
To be able to mourn. It is like, it's like an ego death, like part of your entire identity. So yoga and meditation seemed like they really helped you like heal physically, but like also be able to move through the emotions and the just be real and there with yourself.
And so like rewind a little bit, when I was in college, when I was injured, you know, you have to re-enroll. So I decided not to. I was either going to take a gap year or I don't know. So I decided to go to massage school. So I picked a program in Colorado, and it was a 10-month program. And, you know, 4 months out of this big surgery, I started receiving body work every day. So that, I think,
probably helped.
Huge. And in that process, I learned so much about the body.
I bet. How did learning so much about, like, really the nuts and bolts and anatomy, the muscles, the fascia, like the breath, all these things, how did that shed, like, new light on what dancers go through and how, like, they use their bodies?
It just made me realize that, you know, in my training, it wasn't complete, and there's so much more than just taking class to be a dancer. You have to have so much anatomy awareness and just
But the crazy thing is that most times dancers aren't taught that until they get to college or something. At that point, the habits are like deeply ingrained. Like these.
So I got to learn so much about the anatomy, the muscular system, and just how undertrained I was. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just like the way things are right now. And dancers require their bodies to do so much. Like,
have to be so strong.
Much. Flexible, on point, strong, like fluid, and it's just like, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, that's a lot to put on the body.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like if you could choose like a couple things that like are really lacking, like in terms of anatomy and alignment awareness, where do you think are the major spots on the body where there's just not given enough attention?
The hips and the lower back for dancers, because they're required to be so flexible, but nobody ever talks about the strength you need to be flexible. And I think that's where a lot of girls get injured, is they're hypermobile.
Striving for, that's
but they're not, they can get their head or their leg all the way up to their head, but can they hold it there? No. And I think that's where a lot of injuries happen.
Without that stability. That's really interesting.
So hips, lower back, feet, ankles.
Definitely. So do you feel like, so you had a yoga practice during your recovery. And what about that do you feel really helped you like learn that new alignment and fix those like habitual ways that you've been living in your body that weren't serving you?
I think, you know, kind of ironically, yoga taught me a lot because I ended up injuring myself in yoga.
Really?
Because I was super flexible, so I could do all the stuff.
Kind of just back in that same
but my
dancer's
hips,
mindset of like just flexibility.
Yeah, but my hips and my lower back didn't have that strength to support that movement. So now in my yoga practice, like, I move like a grandma. Like, I barely lift my leg, you know, and I think that's important.
It's more about like the muscle engagement, making sure like all the joints and everything are lined up.
Instead of, I can...
Let me just fling it up there and see what happens.
Yeah. So that was like a big ego test. It's like, you don't have to be the most flexible. That doesn't mean you're the best. It could mean you get injured.
It can mean in the long run you're gonna like harm yourself. So with all of that, like this new perspective in mind, and you started teaching dance, how do you think that transferred over to the way you teach, like all this new alignment about the consequences of not having good muscle, strength or engagement alignment?
Definitely when I teach now, if any of my students look at me and are like, that hurts, that doesn't feel good, my knees, my ankles, my hips, I just say, don't do it. Like,
listen to your body.
Don't do it. I think that's something that we do, is we really shut that intuition down. And we
just
don't
push through, keep going.
Yeah, we don't talk about how different everyone's bodies are. So I'm like, okay, don't do it. Let's do something else. And I think it builds up that confidence, because instead of like pushing down, oh, you have a sensitive lower back, well, we're not going to do a bunch of extensions then. We're going to protect your body.
That's beautiful. Instead of like putting them down and making them feel kind of like an outsider, like, oh, that's awesome that you have that awareness. Let's like listen to that. That's beautiful.
And I think more dancers need to hear that, because more places are getting body positive, not in the sense of like shape, but in the sense of like the things you can do. So
more about what you can do instead of what you can't do, or what where
playing to your strengths.
And that is really beautiful, because everyone's body is so different and unique.
And even if you don't have the splits, you can be an amazing dancer and not have your splits.
It's not about being the most technically proficient, the most like flexible person. It's about like your soul and like how you bring yourself to the stage.
Yeah, exactly. So I just, as a teacher, I really try hard to empower them and not feel bad if something doesn't feel good.
That's awesome.
And so I think that's a lot of teachers are getting to that point.
Do you ever, like, when a student comes to you in pain, do you like give them like, oh, maybe try this massage or this yoga pose or something?
All the time.
Nice.
Try this exercise. Maybe look at this. I talk about little tennis balls and where you can put them to help release all those soft tissues and that kind of thing. Because there's so much we can do to protect our body that we're not taught. So why would you even think about it?
Totally. It's just not in your mind. I feel like dancers are living so much in the external world about like how they look, how they're, how the audience perceives them, but like what's going on internally, how is everything feeling, even on like subtle levels.
Because every sport you're gonna have to push through pain. Like, I'm sorry, it's not comfortable to dance on point. But there's a difference between being uncomfortable and being like, I feel like I can't.
You can be sore, but not like in alignment or like nerve pain or something.
Pain. So
and knowing the difference between that.
I think it's just like bringing that awareness to young girls and guys.
Totally. So what else so you're a full-time like massage practitioner pretty much now. That's awesome. So also you've been a dancer your whole life, you have this deep awareness of the body and the ways that it can move. How does that affect the way you like give massage too? I feel like that would be really interesting.
It is. I feel like when I learned to just like harness that intuition, it just like only benefited me. And now, having quite a few injuries myself, I think that's
true.
I know. So like having experience with a little foot injury, shoulder, hip, whatever, it kind of like can empathize with them a lot. And like, yeah, I know how this feels.
Yeah, that physical empathy.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Because, you know, whether you're an athlete or not, being in pain is, I mean, it's probably the number one cause of depression. I'm not a doctor, but
yeah,
I know what it's like to
we
be
can
in
both
pain.
speak from experience that when your body is not in alignment, not
Failing
in harmony,
you.
it's hard. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
So anyone, if they can't go to work or they can't pick up their kid, like, it's heartbreaking. So, and just kind of talking about the biggest thing for me with the soft tissue work is that pain isn't always going to show up on a scan or an x-ray. And dancers, I think, have that issue a lot, is they're hurt, but they get an x-ray and the doctor's like, oh, nothing's broken, you're fine. They're like, no, I'm not fine.
Yeah. Because x-rays can't see, like, the
fascia.
They can't see, like, where the stress is being stored. Yeah, they're not looking. I think it's about looking at people as a whole being, not just like this one isolated issue. Like, it's a full body, full, like, emotional, energetic, like, being.
So I think for young kids and athletes, kind of when they hear their pain isn't validated by a scan, I think it gets to them.
Wow.
That was a big segue.
That's okay.
But
that's important. I think just on a final note, like, do you have any advice for the upcoming dancers that want to stay injury-free? Anything that you might have wished that you had known before you went through such an intense injury and recovery?
Yeah, I think the big thing is cross-train.
Cross-train.
Showing up for class. The hard thing about being a dancer is you're rehearsing 5 to 6 hours a week already, but it's not enough.
Making that time.
It's not enough. You have to be doing your TheraBand work, doing a little weightlifting, not heavy, but 3 or 4 pounds.
Yeah.
You have to be doing active stretching, not just pushing yourself past your limit. You have to be biking or cycling or rowing. It's just, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Would you say yoga would be a good form of cross-training?
Yes. I think yoga is a good form. You know, if you have the right teacher that doesn't just let you push that boundary.
That teaches you that good alignment.
Why yoga's so great is because it requires you to hold those postures.
Yeah, it really requires you to breathe in each pose and really notice, like, what is going on.
Yeah, what am I activating here?
Yeah, where is my breath going? Where am I tense? Like, where am I locking me? Yeah, just having that, like, awareness.
But I think, like anything, the danger is not having a good teacher.
Yeah, it
not having
is all
an
about
aware
the
teacher. So, yoga is one of the best tools. It really is.
Yoga is one of the best tools.
I do. If you're trained properly, and you know not to go past your point of flexibility, to really harness that energy from your core.
Yeah, the power of the core for sure.
And I think that's a lot of dancers are lacking those the core muscles that your breath gets you.
Yeah,
those transverse abs.
So it's usually all like in the psoas, but needs to be. You know, that's what I thought for so long before my injury. I thought I was so strong. I would work
six pack. Those muscles mean nothing.
Yeah, they didn't like do anything. And now that I've, through yoga, because I've had some really amazing teachers that have taught me how to actually align myself to activate it.
Harness
every
that.
crunch is like,
I know.
like, whoa.
Like, you can see girls do
hard.
exercises like, this is so easy.
Yeah, just like grinding through some random
the
things.
hips.
Yeah.
Like, are you engaging your abs? Because I could do 4 bicycle crunches and like die.
Yeah.
And I am strong.
Yeah.
So
the quality, not the quantity of your movement patterns, I feel like.
Yes, so much.
Yeah. Well.
So much to talk about.
Yeah, I know. There's so much to talk about for one little video, but
we need a part 2.
Yeah, we'll have a part 2, round 2 with Maggie. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your knowledge and your perspective with us. Really appreciate it. And for everyone who's interested in checking out Maggie and what she's got going on, I'll be putting her Instagram in the links. You can go check her out. She does a lot of awesome, like, outdoorsy stuff as well as just being a beautiful mover and
Yeah.
massage therapist and dance teacher as well. So
Yay,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, thank